the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, and yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome back in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, we got Ajay Salvesen filling in for Eric Franson. Bringing his A game, bringing everything he's got.
We've definitely not had an A game. This has been like C.
Well, we've got another hour to make things better. We've got Utah State football preview. We've been doing kind of one team per weekday, talking about one of the opponents for Utah State. We've gone through 4 of them. And I've also got my written series, which had Volume 6 today with Hawaii. Volume 7 comes out tomorrow with San Jose State. And then New Mexico to finish out the week. That'll be an interesting preview to write. I know that's a spicy game. That's probably the one game I'm looking forward to this year.
Absolutely, 100%.
Definitely looking forward to that one. But let's stick with game number 5 for Utah State. It's the game before their bye weeks. They're going to be really maybe looking forward to a week off. But before they get that week off, they've got to take a trip down to Tennessee. I was just there this summer, blazing hot when I was there. Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that trip.
Yeah, it will hopefully have cooled off by the time you're there, because it'll be like late September. It'll be actually September 27th. It's my brother's birthday. That's how I remember that. So.
All right.
So should be fun. Not the brother you know of, because I think you know of one of my brothers.
Yeah.
But it's a different one.
He goes with air and then ick.
Yeah. His birthday is a different part of the year, though.
Rhymes with your co-host name?
Yes, it does.
Air, ick.
Spelled the same, too.
Is it really?
I think I've referred to Eric Franson by Eric Walker.
I would.
More than once.
If I was your brother, I would definitely get that changed.
He's probably listening.
You laugh, but I'm serious. Hey, if you're listening, get it changed ASAP.
I think he likes his name.
Your name have be derogatorized by Franson.
Yeah. Anyway, so getting back to Vanderbilt. Saw a few people wearing Vanderbilt gear, and I had never really clicked that Vanderbilt was in Tennessee, because there's a bunch of teams where it's like I grew up and it's like you hear the name, a bunch of schools like their school name is where they are.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch that I didn't know where they were growing up. It's like, it's just them, like Notre Dame. It's like, I don't know, where are they? Vanderbilt. It's like there's some schools you just don't know unless it says it in their name, like Santa Clara. I wonder where they are.
Well, let's go back to a year ago about this football team from Vanderbilt. They started off okay. They won the first 2, Vautech, Alcorn State, lost the next 2, Georgia State by 4, and then lost to Missouri, who was ranked 7th at the time, by 3 in double overtime. Then went on kind of a mini heater. They beat number 1 Alabama at home. They beat Kentucky, and they beat Ball State. Now, the crazy part is that the first, 6 games, 5 out of the first 6 were by single digits, loss or win, right? They trumped Alcorn State 55-0. But then they came nearly close to beating Texas in Vanderbilt. Lost by 3, beat Auburn at Auburn, and then just fell completely on their face. Really, really humbling and kind of a disaster loss to South Carolina. Lost at LSU, and then in a game where they were actually in it most of the night, lost to Tennessee at home, who was ranked 8th by 13. Won their bowl game. They beat in the Birmingham Bowl, beat Georgia Tech 35-27. So they're coming off a really, really good season, some to an extent historic season, right? But this team returns, I believe, are they first in the country in return production?
I think they're third by the metrics I've seen. Okay. But yeah, they're pretty much up there.
Yeah. I mean, that's massive. You're looking at a team from Utah State football who returns some of their production, and Vanderbilt returns nearly all of its production.
Basically everything.
Including their offensive line. They're going to be super, super good.
Yeah, they're bringing back a lot of good guys. A big chunk of their offensive production, because he was basically their entire offense, Diego Pavia, who is also to thank for, all the junior college players who got an extra year of eligibility. So Diego is the reason Drake Allen is back with the Aggies, so you can thank him for that. He threw 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Not a ton of passing yards, only about 2,300. But dude ran for 800 yards. So this is a guy who had north of 3,000 yards of production. It's just a bunch of it was on the ground. He had 28 touchdowns in total, 20 through the air, and then 8 on the ground. So this is a guy he basically had most of their production. I can't remember if they bring back their running back Cedric Alexander. I didn't list specifically. Okay, they do return him. They return their tight end Eli Stowers. He's a big guy to keep an eye on because I think he was their leading receiver period last year.
Yeah.
At about 640 yards, 5 touchdowns. Again, not super prolific in yards through the air, but a lot of the yards they did have come through, a guy like Stowers. And, Cedric Alexander also caught a decent amount of passes out of the backfield, 23 receptions for about 240 yards and 1 touchdown. So there's some versatility here. They're returning a ton back. And Vanderbilt was just interesting last year where, they had a lot of these close losses to great teams. When they went to that Texas game, they were ranked 25th. They barely lose, and then when they beat Auburn the next week, they managed to get back into the top 25. Close loss to Texas, then win the next week. But then, they just collapsed at the end of the season. And I don't know. I'm not 100% sure why.
Well, and remember
that happens.
Well, they fired their defensive coordinator 3 weeks before the season ended.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a big deal because that's when things kind of started to fall apart. Their defense is really good too. Their defensive backfield is going to be elite. CJ Hurd, who's a transfer from Florida Atlantic, who was a third-team All-American a year ago, comes into this defense. He led the team in total. I think he actually led the conference in tackles. It was phenomenal, and he's a very, very good defensive back. This is a guy that when Braxton Barnes gets to the line, first thing you want to see is where's Hurd at? Where's he lined up at? Kind of like like an Ed Reed kind of a guy, aggressive. We'll go get his, but incredibly high IQ, very smart, and is a physical defensive back.
Yeah, and this is where, we've had a lot of Aggie fans picking this game, like for the optimistic Aggie fans, they're wanting to pick this game as like, hey, this is the Power 5 team that we can beat. And I hesitate because this isn't the Vanderbilt of past seasons. And last year doesn't look like it was a 1-year kind of fluke. Because, they had a bit of a 2-year flash in the pan with James Franklin. Of course, then Franklin goes on to coach Penn State immediately, dips out. The second he got Vanderbilt to back-to-back 9-win seasons, he was out. So that was a bit of a flash in the pan. But, I know this is a team who I think, let's see, since 2008, they've had 3 winning seasons. Last year was their most recent winning season since 2013. And they've gone through a couple of different coaches in that time. They're usually winning between 3 and 6 games. And so you look at that and you say, okay, that's the power conference team you can beat. It's like the way they looked at Washington State, Oregon State, some of these teams, even Wake Forest to a degree when they were playing them. You think that's the team that can beat. Sure, it's an SEC team, but it's the weakest SEC team. But I just look at last year's team where that was a team that was competing with the number 1 team in the country, beat at the time, number 1 in the country, Alabama. I know they didn't finish that, but then they were competing, going toe-to-toe with Texas, who was in the playoff, with Missouri, who, was number 7 at the time. Where did Missouri ended up finishing? They were they still in the top 25 by season's end?
Yeah, they finished, I thought it was 7th. I'd have to look, though.
Well, they were 7th at the time they played, and they finished the year 22nd in the AP poll. I don't know where they finished in the college ball playoff. But Tennessee, who was in the playoff, of course that was a 13-point loss, but that was during their stretch where they were losing a bunch. That was probably when they were playing their worst football, and they were only losing by 13 points to Tennessee.
Well, even this year, they faced 4 teams that were in the top 30 in total offense just a year ago, right? And
I mean, last year's team faced 3 or 4 of the top 25 teams.
Well, and the problem is that 4 of those teams, actually 3 of those teams of the 4 are in November. You've got Tennessee, South Carolina, and I believe it is LSU. Yeah. South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee. And those are your final 3 games of the year, by the way. Go figure. This is a brutal schedule. And again, they get Alabama. Actually, no, sorry. I am looking at the wrong schedule. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. There we go. They're at Alabama. They're home against LSU. Then they're at Texas and at Tennessee. And those 3 games, they are Texas, Tennessee, and Auburn. Yes, Auburn.
Those are the top offenses?
Of the November that they face.
Oh, yeah.
The other top offense that they'll face, of course, go figure, is Alabama. And they face them October 4th. And by the way, they get October 4th at Alabama, a bye week, and then home against LSU. And then they get Missouri at home, but then they're at Texas. I mean, it's a brutal schedule to start.
Yeah.
And I mean, even have it now. You get Charleston Southern to start the year. You're at Vaught Tech. You're at number 13 South Carolina. Home against Georgia State, which is no gimme, and then you're home against Utah State.
They lost to Georgia State last year.
Yeah, like none of those first 4 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, are gimmies in any way, stretch of the form.
Now their first one is Charleston Southern.
You know, don't tell Charleston Southern that. I'm telling you.
They'll probably get worked.
No, look, they'll probably get worked. But Vaught Tech, at South Carolina, and home against Georgia State.
Yeah, but your point stands. But yeah, and I think I saw somewhere that Vanderbilt has like a top 5 schedule in terms of strength of schedule, like top 5 hardest.
Oh God.
When you have 5 preseason top 25 teams, 4 of whom are in the top 13, 3 of whom are in the top 10, one of those being the number 1 team in the country. Yeah, that's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
And, in the teams that aren't ranked, Missouri, Auburn, and Kentucky aren't necessarily slouches. Like Utah State may very well be like the second easiest game on their schedule, depending on how you feel about Georgia State, second or third. This depends on your thoughts about Georgia State, basically, because they get to play a Sun Belt team and a Mountain West team and an FCS team, and everyone else are these power conference or SEC teams, where it's just really difficult. But yeah, and they may end up getting beat up by their schedule. They may not manage to win, 7 or 8 games. Because it's just such a brutal schedule.
Yeah.
But they're probably going to be better than last year.
Absolutely, they will be.
Better than last year's team. Like last year's Vanderbilt team, boat races Utah State by about 21 plus points, depending on how optimistic you want to be.
Yeah.
And is this year's Utah State team like significantly better? Because not only do you got to catch up with Vanderbilt's improvement, you've got to gain on what you were last year. So you've got to gain on what you were last year and catch up to whatever Vanderbilt was doing. That just seems like a big gap for me. So while I understand fans wanting to be optimistic about this game, and honestly, if Utah State is as good as fans are hoping, like if they're, for the really optimistic ones who think it's going to be a year 1 turnaround and it's a team that can win 7, 8, 9 games, if that's who you think Utah State is, then they can win this game.
Sure.
And they should be in this game. I just have my doubts that we're going to see that kind of year one turnaround. Because Vanderbilt, they lost to Georgia State last year for all the great things they did in beating Alabama and in
but that loss to Georgia State, A, was on the road, and B, I think it's made up for the fact that they went and beat Bama. They only lost by 3 to Texas.
Yeah, but what it shows is that they're vulnerable. It shows that they can have that off day. And against Georgia Tech, they beat them by 8 points. So Georgia Tech was Georgia Tech. I know they're in the ACC, but they're nothing particularly special there. So it's like Vanderbilt, if you catch them right, and that game was at Georgia State. So how did Georgia State get a home and home with Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Utah State needs to find a way to get a home and home. I mean, they kind of had one with Oregon, but
you knew that wasn't going to last.
Yeah, those guys chickened out. We all kind of knew what was happening from the moment that got scheduled. But
and here's the other thing too, and just for even Utah State, right? Is not only are you playing Vanderbilt, but then Utah State also has a pretty brutal schedule here to start up. UTEP, right? They're at A&M, which is ranked 19th in the country.
Yeah.
You're home against Air Force. You're home against McNeese, but then you're at Vanderbilt before you go to the Islands after a bye week. I mean, there is no gimme really with their schedule. You got to be healthy going into this Vanderbilt game.
Yeah, this is the tough part of the schedule because it eases up a little bit. Where Hawaii, San Jose, New Mexico. That's we talk about how that's kind of a crucial part of the schedule. Those are the games that determine whether or not the Aggies go bowling. UTEP and Air Force are probably going to tell us is this going to be a long year or is it going to be a good year? Whether or not they manage to win those games. But yeah, this is tough because you got to play A&M. Then you're playing Air Force, which even if Air Force isn't good, that can just be a really brutal game. where it's a grinded out style, and that can just kind of wear you down a little bit. Then you get the tune-up against McNeese, and that may be the one thing that kind of helps them is that they're going to have their easiest game of the schedule, the game where they're going to perform the best, the game where their stars are going to be, putting up big numbers, may not even have to play beyond the third quarter. And, when you're 4 weeks in and having that, because a lot of times you're having that FCS game week 1 or week 2.
Yeah.
But Utah State's going to have that. They're going to have played 3 games against good FBS teams. I mean, we'll see if UTEP's good, but Texas A&M, Air Force should be good teams. Then they're going to get to play McNeese, work on all the mistakes they made in those first 3 weeks, and then throw it into Vanderbilt.
And by the way, that Vanderbilt, again, it's a morning game. So, I mean, I guess it's an afternoon game, but really your body's saying morning time.
Yeah, it's an afternoon for them, but for the fans, but it's 10:45
on those charter flights, man, those trips are long. They're long, and they're long even when you're flying into Logan. It can be long.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of mentality of toughness in there that you have to be able to go with. But as you mentioned, that, you get Vanderbilt, right? And then I don't know if the schedule eases up, but you're at Hawaii on the islands. You never know how the team's going to react. You're home against San Jose State, which
you get a bye week between Vandy and Hawaii.
That's
though.
true. But then you're at New Mexico, and again, the emotions will be running high for the Lobos for multiple reasons. One, the whole Pac-12 thing, and the bitter back and forth between the fans, but also Bronco Mendenhall previously was there for 1 year, decided to take off, left for Utah State. And now he's at Utah State, and there's some bitterness over there from New Mexico about him taking the whole staff with him as well. And man, this is I can't remember the last time Utah State had a tough start like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, the strength of opponent, I think, eases up where, Hawaii, like New Mexico's expected to be one of the worst teams, though they're really getting behind Jason Eck, right?
Uh-huh.
Great name, especially that first name. But yeah, they're liking him, and of course they're all saying, like, oh, he's better than Bronco Mendenhall. Some of that sour grapes, although who knows? Maybe it's true. I doubt it.
I'll take Bronco right now.
Yeah,
as my
I
head
think most
coach,
people
happily.
would take Bronco, but they're kind of coping a little bit with Jason Eck and hoping he's able to do what Bronco ultimately did because he left too early.
By the way, there's one more piece of irony that could happen. I'm not saying will happen. I'll say could happen. Utah State's in the search of a new AD. McNeese's AD has been coming up quite a bit to be the AD here at Utah State, and that would happen before football season.
Oh, that would be...
I'm just throwing that out there as a piece of pie for everybody to chew on.
That would be pretty funny.
He'd be like, hey, can we wait till September, say, 12th, Sunday morning for me to take the job? Just, let me get through this.
Just like... It's September 1st, base. Oh, no, excuse me. I was thinking UTEP for some reason. Yeah, it's September 21st or whatever, or right before, right after. Yeah. That would be kind of funny.
Just saying, his name has been thrown around quite a bit, and he does have interest.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of interest because, it's a good job. I know there's some guys down south that weren't super high on Utah State's AD job, but there's only so many AD jobs for Division I FBS,
That's true.
for positions. It's like with head coaching. You don't, even if you're not one of the power conferences, you're having a hard time turning down being an AD. Unless you're John Hartwell, in which case you turn it down at 2 different places.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't really blame him for his latest resignation.
No, dude, that president forced him out.
Well, and they cut the budget. It's like...
Yeah, $9 million.
Yeah, it's like, how are you... In an era where everyone is increasing their budgets, and you could talk about whether or not that's a good thing, that college athletics is just dumping money into athletics, but in an era where everyone's in an arms race to raise money, they're going backwards.
Oh, yeah, like FCS backwards.
Yeah, so, getting the heck out of Dodge isn't necessarily the worst thing. So there's our preview as coherent as we can make. I don't know if you followed a certain form, but it's going to be an interesting game, especially if Utah State manages to come into this one, if they're 3-1.
Oh.
Which is possible.
Oh, man, if they're 3-1 going into that game.
Because, beat UTEP, beat Air Force, and beat McNeese State. That's not the tallest order in the world. I think there can be a lot of optimism. I don't know if that optimism will stand. Because, again, Vanderbilt's a good team. But, I don't know, that would be interesting seeing a 3-1 Utah State team against Vanderbilt.
Bronco always has a habit of taking these kind of quote-unquote lower-tier teams and going to high places and winning.
Yeah.
He's done it before a couple of times, even at the school down south.
Yeah. He basically started...
He'll have his kids ready.
He basically started BYU's habit of beating teams they had no business of beating.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which they still do to this day.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, We got to talk about overrated and under. We've talked about teams in the AP poll. We're the most underrated and overrated team. There's an interesting breakdown by Jeff Fuller. He's got a Substack where he did like 50 years of analysis, which I dig deep into the numbers and make spreadsheets. This guy, man, stand in awe of the
wow, that's saying something.
Yeah,
I've seen your tweet threads, man. I'm like, geez, what the fetch are you doing today, dog?
Yeah, sometimes I just spend a few hours, doing some data entry stuff. This guy went all in, looking at who are the most overrated, underrated teams in terms of like preseason AP poll versus how they finished. We'll get into that next here on the Full Court Press.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Hello, Cache Valley. Did you know the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan has bike and tube rentals? That's right. The Sportsman has kids' bikes, bikes for cruising around town, hardtail mountain bikes, and full suspension electric bikes for rent. If you haven't ridden an e-bike, you are missing out on so much fun. We can even give you ideas where to ride. If you need to rent a tube or many tubes for Bear Lake, Hiram Dam, or the Narrows in Idaho, we have those too. Come to the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan for your summer bike and tube rentals. Tons of parking in the back.
High school sports are as American as apple pie. And going to a game or meet is a chance to see the stars of tomorrow shine today. But as anybody who's ever attended a high school sporting event in Utah knows, you can't have the stars without the stripes. High schools are currently looking for new officials in almost every sport. Who looks good in stripes? Anybody looking for a way to stay connected to a sport they love. If you like the idea of giving back to your community while earning a few extra bucks, chances are you'd look good in stripes too. We want to hear from you. We need to hear from you. No officials means no games. No stripes means no stars. And what kind of America would that be? Utah needs more high school officials. Go to highschoolofficials.com to sign up or learn more. That's highschoolofficials.com.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
It's happening, the Warehouse Parts Sale at Young Power Sports of Logan this Saturday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 4:30. Young Power Sports of Logan is clearing out all overstock parts with discounts up to 75% off. That's right, 75% off tons of parts for 2019 and older Polaris Razor in general, Can-Am X3 and Defender and more. All these power sports things, I don't know half of this stuff, so hopefully you're getting the idea. But if you ride it, they've probably got the part. But when these parts are gone, they're gone. So don't miss the one-day blowout. Again, it's August 16th, 10 a.m. to 4:30 at Young Power Sports of Logan. They're over on South Main, just over by Walmart, I believe, by the South Walmart. So get the parts you need. Save up to 75% only at Young Power Sports of Logan. So the AP poll, the first AP poll of the season for football came out Monday, and there were a couple different people that released like who are the most overrated, underrated in the AP poll. Brett McMurphy.
Yep.
He released his. His was like a since 2014 grant. I didn't read it because it was behind a paywall. But he had his most overrated and underrated teams. I forget which ones were the most overrated. There was a pretty consistent theme. I know BYU and Boise State tended to be pretty underrated. A lot of group of five teams in there. But then Jeff Fuller, he's got a Substack where he dives into this, and I think he might even have a connection to BYU as well, because I think he's in the state of Utah or has roots somewhere there. But he did this analysis. He had kind of spans of 35, but also 50 years examining, your net placement in the AP poll. Like how many spots did you rise or fall based on being higher or lower than expected. And Ajay, I don't know if you saw any of this. Who do you think is the most overrated team? Over the last 50 years, who's underperformed the most?
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years.
All right. This is tough because there's a couple of ideas in my head for different reasons. I'm going to say Boston College is in that list.
I don't see them. I think the thing is they probably don't end up on the preseason AP poll very much, though.
Okay. Florida State.
They're on there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th on the list.
Okay, my last guess would be Penn State.
Penn State, they are. I don't know how many. It looks like they're like halfway on this list.
No kidding, really.
So they're on the list, but they're like 10 or 15.
Give me the conference that the team is in.
Big Ten.
It's got to be UCLA.
They're on there. They're slightly ahead of Penn State, but you're pretty close geographically.
My gosh, is it USC?
It's USC.
No way.
But think about it. Like how often? Like they're in like the top 10 every year. How often? And they were really good like 50 years ago, but think of the last 25 years.
The last 25 years, they were really good.
Yeah. Okay, think since Reggie Bush.
Okay, after Reggie Bush, they had a downfall.
And I think that's probably a big thing that's contributing because they're like top 10 preseason every year, and they're just constantly underperforming.
Okay, so give me the top 5.
Top 5. So it's USC. Next one. This surprised me. Oklahoma.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Bob Stoops.
Well, he seemed to be the good part, or maybe they just underperformed.
They couldn't win the big game.
Yeah, but they were always somewhere in the top 10.
Yeah.
They're always contending, never won it all.
Yeah.
But they were contending. I think they were in the national title game 1 year, and they lost to Florida, I think it was.
They lost to Florida. They won one, though, too. I can't remember. I think they beat Florida State or Tennessee.
Number 3 is Notre Dame.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me ever since.
Yeah.
Ever since the 80s, ever since Rudy, basically. Michigan, they're up there. They're number 4 on overrated.
I could see that.
And then Nebraska.
Nebraska's definitely got to be on there.
Probably on the I know they're kind of down in the dumps now, but when they were having that decline, everyone thought they were still good, but then they were never good.
Ever since 98, I think.
Yeah, basically the late 90s.
After they got flattened by Florida in the Orange Bowl.
So it's probably the 2000s is contributing to this overrated because they would have still been getting ranked there, but they were never living up to it.
Bo Callahan, Bo Pelini. They've had some weird coaches. Scott Frost. It just never worked out. The mid-90s was great for them. Yeah. After that was disaster.
So that's your top 5. And the next one, you have Texas.
I could see Texas.
We had a decade of Texas is back. So that's probably contributing to that. So that's your a funny thing, though, is you have a few that are on this list of most overrated where I feel
where's BYU?
We'll get to BYU in a second. But teams like Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, they show up on this list, which I feel is unfair because they're getting penalized for being preseason number 1 and finishing 6th.
Okay, but at the same time, they had that decade run with the greatest college football coach of all time in Nick Saban, right?
Yeah, so they're clearly not one of the more overrated teams because when you're picked number 1, you have nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, Alabama, because I remember in the early aughts, they were horrible.
And they're bad. Then Nick Saban shows up.
Yeah.
And that's when they started turning things around.
And then fix it after that.
Yeah, but I guess, we're talking about 50 years, so it's more than just the last 25 or so. But yeah, it's really tricky. So let's go to the most underrated.
On that list.
These are the most underrated teams there, Ajay, and this is where we get to BYU. They're apparently, according to this analysis, they're the most underrated because they have more consistently overperformed. They've had 12 years where they finished or where they were in the preseason AP ranking, but they had 8 seasons where they finished in the final AP ranking. So
Lavelle Edwards, thank you for coming to BYU, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think
because Gary Crowton didn't do it.
Well, I think even Bronco Mendenhall's teams, because they were, group of 5 or whatever we called them back then when it was the BCS days, but they would consistently not be in the top 25. They'd finish in the top 25 because they were good. And Boise State,
I was going to say, Boise State's got to be on that list then.
They're number 2. They're number 2 on this list.
Really?
So they're just a team that constantly doesn't get picked in the preseason poll. They did this year, barely at 25. And that's the year after they went to the playoff and I think they're like top 30 in returning production.
Yeah,
and that barely gets them in the top 25 after finishing, they were nominally top 12 or whatever because of the college football playoff.
Hey, what is their schedule? They don't play any. They're at Notre Dame.
Yeah, so they've got some tough ones. We'll see if they manage to pull off kind of what they did with Oregon, where that loss kind of.
And that's during our bye week. That's great.
Yeah,
I love life.
So we can be able to watch that. So actually, interesting. You mentioned Boston College. They do show up on the list, but in the underrated category,
really?
They're fourth. Washington State's third. So let me see how many Group of 5 teams. So you got BYU, who was Group of 5. Boise State is.
Yep.
Cincinnati's on here, and you pretty much count them. Utah, they're like eighth or ninth, if I'm eyeballing that. TCU, Houston, SMU, UCF.
UCF's on the list, huh?
Yeah, I know a lot of these are now power conference, but for most of the sample size,
but
they were.
UCF's on that list, huh?
Yeah, I wonder how
what they're
much
looking at.
I wonder how much those like mid 2010s years really helped.
Had to help. Had to be the reason they're in there.
Yeah. Tulane's on there.
Future Pac-12 member?
Yeah. I have my doubts. I don't know. Like there's a lot of those AAC teams that you'd like to be in, but geography just is really tough.
Doesn't fit.
Then you also get Memphis, the team that is just, you kind of got to feel for Memphis fans to some degree. I don't know too much about Memphis fans, whether or not people feel like they deserve it, but like how close they feel like they are to being a power conference team. And they're just constantly getting passed over.
Well, yeah, the Big East is like, we don't need you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, but no.
I think their last great hope, though, is for, I think every Memphis fan is preying on the ACC's downfall.
Yeah.
Because if the ACC loses a bunch of teams, Memphis is right in.
Yeah.
But
then are they still a Power 5 conference, though?
Depends on how many beyond Florida State and Clemson they keep.
You lose Florida State and Clemson, you're going to lose a chunk of teams.
Yeah, because then you get, Duke and...
Yeah, does Duke want to be in there? Does North Carolina want to be in there? No.
They start fleeing to the Big 12 or, I don't know, the Big East. I don't know.
See, I think the Big East would take them.
But what happens to Duke football?
Oh, jeez. You're asking about Duke football.
I know Duke football's not big, but they have a football team.
Well, they did have a football team, and they will not have a football team because they're a basketball school.
Wasn't there a Duke quarterback that went to the Patriots? That's not where...
Yeah. Drake May.
Is that where Drake May was from? I thought he was somewhere else. North Carolina. I couldn't remember which one he was from. I thought there was a Duke quarterback that went to an NFL team. I suddenly couldn't remember.
I mean, there's 32 teams.
Yeah, so I know there's somewhere.
I have no idea.
It's hard to keep track of them. But yeah, those are kind of the most overrated, underrated teams in the AP poll. And yeah, some of these make sense.
Let me ask you, do you like preseason polls, yes or no?
So I think we had this discussion where they kind of have to happen.
Why?
Because you got to have some kind of framework for fans. I think it really helps the fans kind of get a framework. As far as their functionality, and there's a lot of unintended effects. There's a lot that can be said that's negative about preseason polls. Because I talk about it giving a framework to fans, but it kind of can have a negative impact because you have a preseason top 10 team. And if that team loses a few times in the first few weeks, well, that's propping up the teams that beat them, saying, oh, you beat a top 10 team. What if that preseason top 10 team finishes 5-7? Other teams are still getting credit for a top 10 win. It can end up framing things in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it influences the college football playoff poll. If you got a top 10 win in week 1, but by week 7, that team you beat is, imagine Florida State those couple of years ago when they were...
Hurts you more than helps you.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, it's... again, its functionality, I think, has some unintended negative consequences. But kind of for the health of fandom and for our places like media and talking about all this, it kind of has to be there to a degree, if that makes sense. I don't know, a necessary evil, if you want to call it that. I don't even know if it's an evil because, at worst, it's a minor negative. Again, where it can negatively impact our perception, where we hang on too long to this team that was a preseason AP team. We think they're good, but it turns out they're not, and we're just not willing to believe it. And then, of course, you get the preseason poll where it constantly props up teams that just don't deserve it. USC hasn't deserved to be a top 25 team for most of the last 20 years. But they're constantly in the preseason top 25 because everyone says, oh, it's USC. They get propped up. Whereas Mountain West teams, they never get the benefit of the doubt. They have to earn it. So that's kind of a flaw in the AP poll. But in the end, I'd be sad if it wasn't there. I like that the college football playoff poll, which has more meaning in the end, starts in week 7 or 8. But I feel like you always kind of have to have a starting place somewhere. So there's my long-winded rant on polls.
All right, that's his TED Talk, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. We're going to take a break. When we come back, let's take a turn and look at the pros. The NBA Cup, the most important playoff tournament in sports in America.
I got to go home.
We'll take a break.
I
We'll be back.
swear.
We'll talk about that next here on the Full Court Press.
Make it 5 years in a row. Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named gold medalist for the best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. They thank you for your support and vote of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the 5-time gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI, online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your health matters.
Hi everybody, I'm Kristen Chenoweth. When our servicemen and women return from war, they often carry wounds that the rest of us cannot see. Up to 1 in 5 veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. And often, even the best treatment, including medication and therapy, they fall short. Sadly, more than 6,000 veterans die every year from suicide. Thanks to the life-saving power of the human-animal bond, professionally trained service dogs can help. But connecting a veteran with a well-trained service dog can be difficult. Wait lists are long and training can cost tens of thousands of dollars. But service dogs can bring healing. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, please go to AmericanHumane.org to learn about the Pups for Patriots program, which provides dogs to veterans for free of charge. Let's help our veterans heal from the invisible wounds of war.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Air Conditioning wants you to feel the love as they give away and install 5 new furnace and air conditioners to families in need. Mountain Valley Heating and Air is donating HVAC systems, equipment, materials, and installation services to help deserving families who need a little extra support, and they need your help. Nominate a family in need today. The nominations are open through August 31st. We're running out of time here. They're going to select at least 5 families between September and October, and you can nominate someone by going to mtnvalleyhvac.com and click the Feel the Love tab. Again, that's MTN, it's the abbreviation for mountain, MTNValleyHVAC.com. So make sure to go there, click the Field of Love tab, and nominate someone today. All right. Ajay, I know you're super excited about this. The NBA Cup. They had like Blake Griffin doing a little promo and everything, like trying to hype up this year's NBA Cup. It's going to be bigger than ever.
Nice.
So you going to watch it?
I would rather take a potato pillar to my eyeballs.
Oh, gosh.
Than watch the NBA Cup.
So the NBA Cup. The reason
but try and hype me up, please. Go ahead. Let's see what you got, big guy.
I'm not the guy to be hyping this up because I'm not too far off from your feelings. But the groups were announced today. They've got 3 groups per conference. They've got West A, the creative names, West A, West B, West C.
Yes.
Then East A, East B, East C. They sound like dorm rooms for dorm buildings for, or like sections of a dorm. Excuse me, the dorms were named after somebody. I'm in the West B wing of the, Jones Hall or whatever.
It's B wing.
So the Jazz are in West A, and they're in a group with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City Thunder, Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, and themselves. So 5 teams per group.
So great. We got the NBA champs. We got the Phoenix Suns. We've got
Timberwolves weren't they in the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, we got them.
So the 2 Western Conference Final teams, if I remember correctly.
That's great.
And the eventual NBA champions. The Suns, well, they're in an interesting spot because they're shooting guard university over there.
Yeah.
With how many they got there. The Sacramento Kings, I forget where the Kings are at if they've sold out because they let De'Aaron Fox go. Who else who's left in Sacramento? They still got Keegan Murray, don't they?
Yeah.
Or did they get rid of him?
No, I think he's still there. Is Sabonis still over there?
No.
He's in Indiana.
No, because they got him from Indiana. They sent Tyrese Halliburton for Sabonis, but
that's right.
I couldn't remember if they got rid of Sabonis and sent him somewhere else. Sabonis might still be there. Yeah, I just lose track of the Kings sometimes. Like I remember they have certain players. In some years, they're like, oh, this is going to be the Kings. They're going to like actually kind of contend. And then they're like the 7th seed. Even though they have guys like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis who are like good NBA players. And then they just can't do anything with it. So what are the odds that the Jazz don't end up as the last place team in their group?
Okay, give me that list again.
So it's the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Suns, Kings, and the Jazz.
Yeah, they're going to be last.
Probably because they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA.
There's the Suns, there's the Wolves, there's the Thunder, there's the Kings, there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's freaking the Jazz.
Yeah, well, the Lakers aren't in their groups. They don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it was kind of that way last year. Because last year, I think they were in a group with the Lakers.
Hey, when does the NBA Cup start?
October 31st is when this tips off.
10 days after opening tip, huh?
Yeah, so it starts pretty soon.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And again, they play these games like they're interspersed throughout the regular season. And I feel like this is a mistake where they're trying to do it the way soccer often does their kind of non-league tournaments. And the problem is those are actual like tournaments that I don't know if they're truly simple. Like, RSO, they're playing in the Leagues Cup, where that's like an international team. They're playing teams from Mexico. Popular teams from Mexico. They had Club America up in the Riot. And, so they got to play them, beat them too. So that was obviously incredibly exciting for Real Salt Lake. But with those, you're like playing one game that you might play, a normal MLS game and then another Leagues Cup game. That's the kind of stuff you can end up having. Over in Europe, they have that similar situation. You have like the FA Cup that they compete in. You have the Champions League.
Yeah.
Different things like that. I think Adam Silver looked at that and said, oh, we can do it that way. And so they artificially insert a bunch of NBA Cup games randomly into the schedule.
Why don't we try and fix the All-Star weekend instead of worrying about the freaking NBA Cup?
Well, I have my own thoughts on the All-Star game, and those mainly involve getting rid of the All-Star game and
in
some
itself.
Yeah, and there's some other. It's a little more complicated than that.
Do you know what I missed about those? Is the skills? Do you remember when Darren Williams and CP3 went out in the skills competition in 08?
I was a little too young for that.
Oh, you were?
I guess in 08 I would have been like
shut up,
13 or something like that.
Really?
So I guess I just wasn't at that age. I just wasn't thinking about doing
the prime of basketball. Like Williams and CP3 in the skills competition was elite stuff.
Yeah, but honestly, well, here since we're doing this, I don't know if you've heard my pitch for fixing All-Star
I'm
Weekend.
Adam Silver. You are Jason Waker in my office, trying to pitch me a new idea for the All-Star game.
So my idea is first we start with getting rid of the All-Star game. And I know with that, Adam Silver has already slammed the door in my face, hung up the phone, and called it.
I'm about to slam the door in your face and hang up the phone.
So let's hear me out, because my idea is to get the Stars more involved in All-Star Weekend. They don't care about the All-Star game. You can't force them to. I know you've tried. You've done everything you can. You've tried every idea under the sun.
Still.
And I applaud Adam Silver for trying that.
Thank you.
The problem is that you can't force them to enjoy it. They're never going to really try their hardest. So my thing is focus their energy on things that they can still be competitive at, but that they're going to actually be willing to do. And so you get rid of the All-Star game, and then you add a couple more skills. And so you still have things like the dunk contest and the three-point contest and the skills challenge. Maybe add like a game of 21, a game of horse, different ideas to add. But here's the trick, because the problem is things like the dunk contest and others, you can't get the Stars to compete in them. Like,
yes.
You got Mac McClung competing in the dunk contest. The twist is, and so mind you, you're getting rid of the All-Star game, and then you think, okay, where are the All-Star teams coming from? Well, you still select All-Star teams. When you select the All-Star teams, those players, they are required to participate in at least one of the events in All-Star Weekend.
Each of these players.
Yeah, each of the players. So, like, 15 players. Some of them have to compete in the dunk contest. You only have to do one, but some of them are in the dunk contest. Some of them are in the three-point contest. And for some of these contests, you can kind of have a waiver to, like, bring somebody else in. A non-All-Star to compete in the dunk contest, a non-All-Star to compete in the three-point contest. For like the skills challenge where they have teams, like maybe make a team out of the host team. Like if the Pacers, they're hosting the All-Star team, they get to have a team for the skills challenge. So that's my pitch for is basically get rid of the All-Star game, but keep the All-Star selection, because the players want to be selected All-Stars. But tell them, look, LeBron, if you get selected to the All-Star team, you have to participate in the dunk contest. So,
do you think they drop out of the All-Star thing, man?
Maybe. They might still. But, like, is LeBron more likely to drop out of the All-Star if he, because he did that last second, so he didn't have to participate in the game, but be like, hey, you have to compete in the dunk contest. You think you would have actually, like, if that was what LeBron James had to do in the All-Star break, you think he would have been in a dunk contest at some point instead of not being in it? Did he ever compete in one?
No, he never has.
Yeah, the coward. So, yeah, like, imagine that, like, saying, hey, look, Jokic, you got to compete in a game of horse. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you got to compete in a game of 21 with Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. It's like they can kind of, they don't have to go super hard. It's a lot shorter, a lot less taxing. You can just do something fun. They can still be competitive, and you've got the stars competing in these events. You got the stars. You got Giannis in the dunk contest. All these different things. Like, can actually watch it instead of watching Mac McClung and Jeremy Evans and bench player number 6 competing in the dunk contest. So that's my pitch.
I agree. Get rid of the game. Find other things to be able to keep the crowd interested in, but more importantly, the players.
Yeah. And if it with the game, you've long since lost it. You can't make them care about the All-Star game. All-Star games are going the way of the dodo in basically every sport. My main thing for, like, you look at the NFL, they need to have, they kind of already have a flag football game, but my big pitch for the NFL, flag football game with the offensive and defensive linemen.
Ooh, that'd
like
be good.
Just them. None of the skill positions.
I like that.
They do their own flag. Like, have the skill position guys do their own flag football game. And, maybe have one of the quarterbacks throwing, playing in that, but, like, they're only the quarterback and they're throwing to offensive, defensive line. But I think it would be fun if you just had them do their own flag football game. Have them throwing and catching and running. I think that would be hilarious. So there we go. That shows you how interested we're in the NBA Cup. We immediately sidetracked to something else. But if you're interested.
Thank goodness we did.
The Jazz, I don't think they're tipping off on October 3rd if they're playing their NBA Cup game on that day. But yeah, late October, and of course you got to watch it on like Prime Video or whatever. So it's not even on cable or whatnot. So I'm telling you, I'm not watching it because I don't have Prime. That's a shame.
Darn, you're not spending $20 on some useless service.
Nope, I am not.
Hey, actually, I know we've got to go to break, actually, because I have a question about that, service and TV and games being televised.
All right, we'll talk about that next here on the Full Court Press.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor. Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Express Tires for less.
Safety and comfort on the road are Express Tire's top priority. As a Point S team member, count on peace of mind with an inclusive warranty that includes nationwide protection. Any brand, any size, better pricing. No appointment necessary on the highway at 3200 North Main.
Express Tires for less.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, like all the houses lying neatly together in a row, or your neighbor, Miss Rita, who always waves at you when you drive down the street, or that movie theater in the strip mall that might look a little worn down, but has the best popcorn you've ever tasted. One thing might be a little harder to notice, because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. It could be your next door neighbor, or your coworker, or your daughter's friend from school, because over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. Hunger lives in neighborhoods all around us, but it doesn't have to. At Albertsons Companies and Safeway Foundations, we are on a mission to provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Into the Full Court Press, Jason Walker, Ajay Salvesen, finishing things up here on a Wednesday. I have to remind myself that it's Wednesday, it's not Thursday, which means it's not Utah State soccer season yet. Gotta wait one more day. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., as Utah State soccer taking on Washington State. The only team I think one of the only teams last year to hold Utah State to 0 goals.
Yeah.
Team that finished like top 10 in the nation in goals, the Aggies did, and Washington State shut them out. Of course, it's a 0-0 tie, but still shut them out.
I like the offense this year, though, for the Aggies. I think they're going to put on a clinic.
Should be even better, which is scary considering 100%. How good they were last year. Yep. They returned just about everybody. I think Busy Rivolo was like the one player they lost in like their top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Of course, they lost pretty much all their defense, so they got to figure that out. But their offense is going to be just fine. But Ajay, you had a question before the break.
I want to ask you something, Jason. Subscriptions, games,
streaming services. Like, if you want to watch this game, you got to get this streaming service. If you want to watch this conference, you got to get this streaming service. If you want to watch this NBA game, you got to get this. What are your thoughts on that? All right, so I mean, the Pac-12. What would be the best option for them if they were to move to a streaming service? Where would you want them to go to get the best exposure? As far as exposure?
Because I don't think the Pac-12 network will do that.
It's tricky because, like, you have probably 3 main candidates that I would maybe think of. Actually, what's CBS's streaming platform? Because Peacock is NBC.
That's not Paramount, is it?
Paramount Plus?
No, that's HBO.
Does CBS have one?
I don't think they have one.
Because, like, because I liked what the Mountain West, what they had, where you had your main stuff with like CBS and CBS Sports Network and Fox, but like any game that wasn't on any of those, you had a free online. You can get on your phone.
Yeah.
You can get on your TV, like anywhere. Mountain West Network. And people complain about the quality of that, but like, look, just turn it on mute. Watch the game as long as you can see what's happening on screen. To me, that's what counted. You could watch
Please
every
don't
single
mute the women's basketball game. So
yeah.
hang with me.
Yeah, hang with Ajay. Listen to it on the radio or listening on the Mountain West Network stream. He's doing a good job.
I'm all right. Okay, so
but yeah, you had a way to watch every single game, and you pretty much could do it so long as you had basic cable and you get the Mountain West Network because it's either on CBS, Fox, FS1, whatever.
Fair.
99% of the games just basic cable or just watch it online. I really like that. There's a lot of access there. Trick though is that they may end up. You look at ESPN Plus. Well, then suddenly like. Do you have, like, for me, it works because I've got, like, the Hulu plus ESPN.
As do I, yeah.
It already fits into what I have, but, like, say they go to Peacock. Well, I don't necessarily have a Peacock subscription or Paramount Plus or whatever, like, or Amazon Prime. I already mentioned I don't have Amazon Prime, so it's like suddenly you're starting to spread things out and you're forcing fans to pay more, which there's a whole conversation that's been had 70,000 times already about how streaming was supposed to end cable, but it's basically created cable by a different name.
Sure.
Where you have to have 17 different streaming because they all own something exclusively, which that may happen with the Pac-12. I don't think they're necessarily. Oh, why did we?
Because it's time to go.
Well, we were supposed to go up to 59.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've been going up, and it decided to run the break early. So
again, it's a B+ day, guys.
Yeah, it tried to run the legal ID. So we'll.
Are we still on there, by the way?
We better be,
because I have not heard from a texter in like an hour.
Yeah, well, sometimes things can calm down. We started talking about the NBA Cup and.
Oh yeah, people want to talk about George Niang.
Yeah,
they don't want to talk about the Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
they should move.
George Niang is going to score 30 points in an NBA Cup game.
No, dude, don't.
It's going to be Ajay's favorite day.
I don't even know if we're still on there, but I just want to make my plea. Jazz, I want you to release George Niang. Release him. Find yourself a second-round pick in next year's draft. Get rid of George Niang. Don't have a wasted space on the bench.
Would anybody give up a second-round pick for Niang?
Well, whoever did?
Well, Jazz got sent 2 first-round picks to take on George Niang.
Yeah, okay, so get another second-round pick for George Niang. If he's as valuable as Jason Walker and our friends to make him sound he is.
I never said he was valuable.
Yes, you did.
I said he's kind of like he makes 3-pointers, and that's what he does. He's really good at that one thing, and he can grab a rebound because he's like 6'8". Well, he can grab the rebounds any other 6'8" player can get. I'm not saying he's not really any better than your next 6'8" guy getting rebounds, but like
he can't jump.
But he doesn't have to.
I don't know. He's more worthless, Joe Ingles or George Niang.
Joe Ingles was like that kind of sneaky go where like he was savvy.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because like Joe Ingles, like Kyle, you have these players that you're like, I have no clue how that player's in the league. Because there's some guys that are like in the draft process and they don't get drafted because like, oh, you're too slow.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Joe Ingles and Kyle Anderson having like 15-year careers in the NBA. And it's like
they find a way.
Yeah, they somehow find a way. So
I miss that guy.
Yeah, he's still with the
Wolves.
Timberwolves.
He signed a contract again.
Yes, I don't.
Good for him.
Yeah, but has he even played like a meaningful minute in the NBA in like 3 years?
No.
It's kind of like Udonis Haslem, right? He didn't play for 5 years, but he was under contract as a player.
Who's the guy at Boston? Brian Scalabrine.
He wasn't actually there that long because I know he developed a reputation for being like the worst player in the NBA.
And he was the best trash talker from the bench.
Yeah, but then he did that thing where like he challenged like regular everyday people and he like wrecked every single one of them, which like that was his point. It's like, look, I may be the worst in the NBA, but I'm better than you. So
we got to bring him to the Logan Rec Center.
Yeah, maybe we can bring him there, have him for our pickup games. He just scores every single point for everybody.
That's all I need him for.
That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you guys tomorrow here on the Full Court Press.
KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.